didn't tell me. Right, was he going to take one of my horses, because one has a halter on. Because my wife and I are going to come over to your house, take one of the horses. I go, good luck. He's okay? Oh my God, yeah, well, I got my calcium score today, that wasn't a very good number. So of course I had to call my husband, freaking out. He loves to hear from me on his way to play golf. Like, oh my God, Bob, I used to be 0. Well, thank you for telling me about Jerry. I will check on him. Because he is my neighbor, you know.
I know, that's why.
Thank you. Well.
Kick us off. There are some extra meeting materials right in front of Krista. In previous meeting minutes, the agenda for today. Copy of the updated project budget, if anyone would like hard copies of that information. So thanks everyone for being here. We'll start with introductions and then we'll jump into the agenda. So I'll start with
Hi, everyone. Whitney Hale, Deputy County Administrator.
Steve Randall, Facilities Director.
Eric Nielsen, Facilities Capital Improvement Manager.
Dan Close, Daniel Ledesma, committee member.
Renee Alexander, committee member.
Editor, Commissioner.
Krista Neal, Deputy Trial Court Administrator.
Wayne Powderly, Coming Group Owners Rep. Corey Loomis, Pence Construction Project Manager.
Tom Pfeiffer, committee.
Okay, and then I'll.
Kim Riley, County Legal.
I'm Nick Lee, County Administrator.
Angie Powers is with us, supporting the meeting. Oh, and then online.
Sorry, Will Turner, committee member.
Thanks, Will. So agenda item number 2, membership update. I will touch on that. We do have 3 new members on the group for a total of 8 on the committee. And so I'd like to welcome Daniel Ledesma, Daniel. And then our other 2 members weren't able to be here today, Bruce Barton and Phil Henderson. So that is our membership update. So thanks, Daniel. Glad you came. The third item, discussion of role of chairperson and selection. So I'm going to do a quick count. So we do have a quorum with Will online. And so the chairperson leads the meetings, and traditionally we also reach out to them ahead of time on the agenda, give them allow the chairperson to provide input on the agenda and ultimately put forth the agenda. Whitney, anything?
Just with Jerry's recent resignation from the committee, that role is vacant, but we wanted to float that for discussion. It's a discussion that the committee could choose to have today or could defer if you want to have that discussion at a future meeting. We're certainly happy to continue to support a staff in the interim, but wanted to see if that's something that you all might want to discuss in terms of appointment of a chair.
Okay, what do we need to discuss?
If someone has an interest in serving as chair, that would probably be good to hear. And also if others would like to nominate a chair, that would also be great to hear as well.
Well, does anybody have any idea? Any volunteers who would like to lead? Why I'm talking first. First in line.
It's always good
Okay.
to nominate someone who's not here.
Yeah. Guess what? Or someone who's not.
Who's online?
Yeah.
Will's been really good about attending. Yeah, Will.
And actually, I missed another member who's not in attendance today. Mark Shaw is the other. Sorry.
Perhaps we can. I did not get a chance to talk with Jerry before he vacated. this chairmanship, so I'm not familiar with. Other than what you mentioned, Whitney, what the responsibility would be.
It essentially for this committee is typically running the meeting and some coordination beforehand to review. Generally, we'll draft an agenda as staff and circulate it through the chair just to make sure that it looks appropriate, see if there's anything else that we want to modify or tweak. So it's a pretty, we try to make it a pretty simple role for this committee.
Thoughts from one present or online? Sure.
I'd be happy to do it, for 1 year. Cause I'm on my exit plan, so.
Okay.
If no one else wants to do it.
We do have a volunteer. I think I think we could take
Vote really
a
fast.
vote and then a second and a vote.
I'll second Renee.
See,
Okay,
Okay.
so since I'm acting right now, I'll call for the vote. I'll just, all in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so I think the record can reflect that Renee Alexander has kindly offered and been voted and approved to be the chairperson
Starting
for
with next meeting.
Next week.
starting next meeting through the calendar.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, calendar or rolling?
It
1
could
year
be,
from-
it could be 1 year from now if you'd like.
Okay.
Um,
Through
okay.
the, it would be on, so through the fourth quarter meeting, since we meet quarterly of FY 2026.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Renee.
I guess the other question, I will serve as vice chair in case she is unable to. How's that? I have an interest in that, so.
We also have, do we have a motion then for Dan to be vice chair? Sure. Tom, make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Daniel, second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Great. All right, so moving on to our next agenda item. Item number 4. Any questions on the minutes? They were circulated ahead of time. Committee members?
The only comment I have is on the first paragraph, I think that date should read January 16, 2025.
Yes. Any other comments? We have a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? All approved or all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Minutes are approved. Item number 5, courthouse expansion project. We will go to our presentation, and I'll just add as we get started, we've moved very quickly through the first few items, so that's great. Our goal was to reserve as much time for the tour as we could. We do have a brief project update, but our main focus today is on the tour, so we'll move through the update. Eric has a few slides. We'll have the budget, the current budget for discussion. And then we'll move right into, we'll have a time for discussion in case there are any other questions or comments. Then we'll move right into the tour, and then we'll adjourn the meeting from the tour site. So with that, I will turn it over to Eric.
Okay, yeah, so as Lee mentioned, we have a site tour here shortly, but we have a couple new members. And then I also wanted to share some pictures to kind of set the stage for what you were gonna see on the project site. So first off, many of you have seen this slide, but the expansion on the south side of the existing courthouse, corner of Bond and Greenwood. It's 3 levels plus a basement. Just under 51,000 square feet of new building space. It'll give us 2 new courtrooms, expanded and consolidated court administration. So state courts will move out of where they occupy the gray courthouse on the north end, all the way in fully into the expansion on the first floor. Improved security screening. So that'll be for the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office, who does court security. We'll have oh, sorry, security screening would be in the lobby. The new lobby will have, new security checkpoint as the public enters into the building. And then lastly, improved in custody holding and transport, so sheriff's office will have a new sally port in the basement, access off Harriman, a holding area in the basement, and then an elevator that run up through the building between the new courtrooms. And here is the rendering of what the expansion will look like along Bond Street, with the main entrance kind of in the middle of that new glassy area on the ground floor. Levels above that. So here's what it looks like today, right through the tower crane on site. And Pence has been furiously pouring concrete for the last several months. So as you can see here, the kind of sequencing is to build the concrete cores first. So you can see some stair and elevator cores, columns at the basement level, and then the post-tension concrete decks will start following up throughout the summer months. So just an update, we'll look at some ongoing upcoming work, touch on the schedule, where we're at overall, and then just talk about the budget. So here's a view, this is standing on Harriman Street, looking to the west of what will eventually be the staff parking garage entrance off Harriman. So you can see they've poured all of the columns. I think got the last column poured last week. And then you can see the elevator and stair cores popping up from there. Bond Street, this is a view of what will be the sidewalk on Bond Street, looking at the corner of southwest corner, Bond and Greenwood. That's just kind of the column layout in the parking garage there, and then stair 1 would be the west exit stairs in the foreground there. So elevator 1, the core for that is almost topped out, if not topped out. That's kind of in the background there. That'll be if you're looking at this photo, this will be the street level entrance off of Bond, and then elevator 1 will be the elevator that you'll see in the lobby when you walk in. The lobby will be a single story height space, whereas the rest of the expansion will be 3 stories. Elevator 2, this will be used by the sheriff's office to move up and down the building. This is in the basement. And then this elevator, like I said, it'll pop up between the 2 new courtrooms for easier transport. Elevator 3, see kind of 2 walls there. That's a staff elevator that'll run from the garage up to the court administration area. And stair 1, so that's kind of the most prominently visible core you can see if you're coming up Greenwood to the east. That core has been topped out at the roof level, so you can kind of see the plywood lines that'll show the level 1, level 2, 3, and then the top of that core is at the roof deck. Stair 2. So this one's right up against the existing building, so Pence has worked through the logistics of kind of called the blindside pour, where you have to slip the formwork in between. There's an 8-inch expansion joint, pour the concrete, and then slide the form out. And this is just an exit stair on the west side of the east side of the building. And then they've been working on under slab plumbing, so largely complete, but you can see the stubs, the waste lines and vent lines stubbed up, which will come up right between 2 of the holding areas in the basement. And then lots of conduit routing all around under the slab. It's largely coming from the new electrical room that's between stair 2 and the existing building. And then there's also some conduit for data connections throughout the building to the new IDF building. There's a new IDF room, which is a server room. So that's kind of the gist of what's being built. I wanted to show you some photos, renderings of the mock-up that we're building, and we'll stop by there on the way to the courthouse. So this is a view of basically the mock-up. The purpose of the mock-up is to get sort of one example of each parts of the exterior facade, and the purpose is so that the contractors and the trades can work through the sequencing of how you install windows at brick masonry, windows at concrete siding. And then on the left side, it's kind of a lower portion where we'll build an expansion joint at the wall and the roof, and so they can work through how all that stuff comes together here in the mock-up before they try it on the larger building.
It's also a chance for the envelope consultant to come and make sure that we're building it per plan per spec.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure we get the warranties.
Right, so what you'll see today is we just have, it's framed up as sheaths, and then the weather barrier's been installed, and the openings in the window have a fluid applied membrane. And so that's kind of where we're at now. We just worked through the kind of the sequencing and methods of putting up the weather barrier, and so we've worked through the types of sealants and fluid applied products to use. Let's see, ongoing and upcoming. So elevator 1 pours are still ongoing. Last time I was there was formwork at the top level. So that should be completed mid-April, end of April. Stair 2, pour 2 and pour 3 is completed mid-April. Underground and plumbing, electrical is kind of wrapping up at the end of this month in April. And then once that's done, they'll move into perhaps slab prep for the basement level at the end of the month, and then pour the slab, start pouring slab early May. And then, like I said, after that, the level 1 concrete deck will get poured sometime mid-May.
Is level 1 concrete deck, is that the floor, or is that what about the first floor? Is that?
Yeah, so the basement slab will be poured early May, and that's just a slab on grade.
Slab on
And
grade.
then, yeah, level 1 will be a elevated post-tension concrete deck.
Post-tension, okay, yeah.
There's post-tension, there's several different types of slabs.
Place.
Yeah. The main expansion structure will be post-tension, but where it ties into the existing building, there's some poured in place slabs. So that's kind of the next 4 to 6 weeks, what we're looking at. Schedule, just kind of breaking it into big chunks. So starting with demo grading site utilities in April, we got permits in April and through September. The main push now has been building structure, which has been ongoing since September and will end August. That's all the concrete cores and the decks. And then towards the tail end of that, they'll start on the building exterior, interior. And those will push through the spring, which will complete the expansion portion. And along with site works, and public improvements. And then in the spring expansion will be complete, and then we can move into the existing building, build the new hearing room. So that's where we're at, right in the middle. Questions?
Any anticipated delays due to, has all the permitting been done? Nothing, in other words, once you get the exterior and the roof on, then you move the interior or anything?
So we are working through deferred submittals right now, like fire sprinkler, PT decks. We talk about what we keep the decks are done, sprinkler deck.
No, yeah, no, for the most part, we're in pretty darn good shape. We have just a couple of deferred submittals left. A lot of that process is behind us. Major items have been procured, generator, switchgear, air handling units, they've all arrived, taken stock, so we're in pretty good shape.
We aren't dependent on anybody else to get permits or to move along, as long as our supply chain works, we get everything in.
Yep. Yeah, we've had a lot of, go ahead.
What specific deferred metals are still out there?
Fire sprinkler is the only one, other than DAS.
Yeah.
Sprinklers and DAS.
Okay.
Yeah, DAS is the distributed antenna system, which basically a radio antenna for emergency responders. Once the building gets to 50,000 square feet or larger, they're required, so we're adding 50,000 onto the existing 50,000 building, square foot building, so we're having to provide DAS system.
Does it require someone to come in and inspect it for approval?
Yeah, yeah, and we had to build it has to go in a 2-hour rated shaft. Whole thing behind that, but, so we tested the building before the expansion, just to kind of get a baseline, and then we'll build the expansion. And then retest and figure out what we do for the system, and it's also to provide. Above just regular emergency response, it's also for the sheriff's office radio, because they provide security.
Right, so the existing building does not have a DAS system. It had a couple repeaters that had been placed, or at least one repeater. And so, part of this project will retrofit or at least ensure that we have good coverage for the existing building, along with adding the DAS system to the new building. I think we just completed a walkthrough with the fire marshal, correct?
We had a meeting with him a week ago, so just went through the parameters and letting him know that the submittal was coming here soon, so. Agreed that we're gonna test it again when we get further along with the structure and see exactly what's gonna be required.
Question about the property, couple questions, are you using the actual products that will be used, because sometimes
Yes.
it doesn't happen?
Yep.
And then the building envelope, was that under the A&E team, or was that independent by?
It was under the architect's team.
It's not a separate, so it's someone that works for LRMs, but
Yeah.
who's the specialist.
Okay.
So I think he's coming from Portland.
Yeah, he's gonna come down and do a site meeting on the 30th, 29th or 30th.
It's next week.
Yeah, next week. Okay, yeah, next week.
Yeah, the importance of using the exact products, the exact approved products. Is so critical, and so much so that we've actually caught a couple things, we're like, it doesn't look like the exact finish. So feel them out. Got it. So,
Thank you.
There any unique products, FEBR type windows, fire doors?
Nothing unique, there's some, what do you call them?
Embeds in windows, coatings on windows, or
The coating for the ballast for the, what's the word?
Bullet resistant.
Thank you, bullet resistant ballasting, thank you. There, we do have that coating on the first floor.
okay.
Yeah,
So
Other
just
than that,
to
it's pretty-
clarify, it's a resistant.
blast resistant film.
Right, okay.
And you've got all that, that's on track to come.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so we have a blast resistant film on exterior windows. At the public service counters, we have bullet resistant glass.
Any other questions so far, and then we will touch base on the budget.
You have slides, okay.
So I'll just start real quick.
Oh, yeah, go.
I just want to point out that, when we last met, we were discussing a budget increase. That was subsequently approved by the board, and so this budget reflects, that increase and has been incorporated. So,
Yes,
go ahead.
total budget was increased by 2.9 million back at the end of July, or sorry, January. Which now includes all the change orders for fence contractors and for LRS and for Cumming Group. So total current budget for the original base scope is 46,800,000. Adding to that for AJ Tucker and also for the FF&E that was funds transferred over from OJD was 500,000 for that. So total budget we're working with at the bottom is 47,472,426. Of that to date, as of the end of last week, spent to date is 17,640. Need my readers, 17,643 and $32, which equates to about 37%, which is right in line with our monthly invoices that we review and approve for pets. I think you guys are about 35%. so like that. Couple of things just to touch on, Pence's contingency as compared to their balance to finish is still about 6%, which is great. And then owner contingency, compared to the balance to finish is just under 5, which is also very good. We've actually been doing really good on contingency tracking since the start of the year, so. It's kind of it in a nutshell. Any questions on the budget? Daniel?
Just my own estimator had,
Yep.
the 52,000 for the contingency that got spent. Just curious what triggered.
There was a couple of things involved with that. There was, I think we had some,
A couple of them were some buyout related.
buyout savings
Yeah,
or buyout spend.
right.
There was waterproofing, existing building.
Yeah, there was the existing waterproofing that got torn off a bit during demolition, so money to redo that whole basement wall. So was there?
Yeah, not many items. I think it's 6 or so
Yeah.
far, so we've been, buyout was pretty strong. We haven't had any scope gaps or anything like that, so. Yeah, we've been in a pretty good spot, so. And we're getting out of the ground, so that unforeseen thing is hopefully continuing to.
And winter's behind us, so. We did have some winter costs, obviously, and a couple of days delay on the winter, but Pence is actually doing a great job, even on schedule, I think. Few days savings, maybe on the re-sequencing of the shoring for the PT decks,
Right.
so. Questions on the budget? Okay.
I think that'll conclude the courthouse project update that we have planned for a formal meeting. Questions, comments, just generally, before we move from here to the tour.
Any other projects on the horizon that you'll be bringing to the table?
We don't currently have a project that the board has expected us to bring currently. So there's not one currently that it's decided to become important to the community. And in terms of planning, we have some parking improvements that are out to bid right now for the downtown campus, upcoming. And we also have a request for proposals that's currently advertised for the, actually, we passed the due date, so we've received proposals for remodel of the gray courthouse after the state court administration team moves out. Those proposals are currently under review. But in terms of larger projects on the horizon, those are the two things that we're currently working on. There's other stuff in kind of background planning that's not even developed to the concept stage, but in terms of stuff that's active. Another question? All right, we will kind of gather up and we'll walk, we'll head out the west entrance, walk down Lafayette, at some point cross, and then the mock-up is at the corner of Lafayette and Bond Street, so for Wall Street.
Enjoy.
That's